let me just check this real quick. I think I can request. So. It's waiting. I'm very excited. I was listening to their new album last night, and it's great. Let me just say, if you are feeling that quarantine aggression, if you're feeling like you need to get some feelings out, and there's a lot of scary stuff in the news right now, and if you need to just like smash your pillows around and dance in your room, it is fantastic for that. While we're waiting on Acid Rain, I would love to know how many of you guys are here in the States. This is our first overseas interviews that we had, so I think it's probably around 8 o'clock where Howard is. And so let me know where you're tuning in from, because I would love to hear from you. And any Acid Rain fans in the comments, let me know. So yeah, if you didn't catch it before, Acid Rain is releasing all of their music reissued, and I'm so excited. I'm a record collector, so that is great for me. Let me just see. It looks like I haven't gotten a request yet from Howard, so I am gonna keep trying here. Oh, Brooklyn from Corey. There he is.
Yay!
What's up, H? How you doing?
I'm very well. Sorry for being such a miserable technophobe. I'm not a technophobe, but yeah. So this is the first live Instagram that we've done that we've done for the band. So hello, I know how it works now. Sorry for experimenting on you.
It's no worries at all. Actually, I had never gone live before getting this job, so we were figuring it out together.
All right. Okay. Cool. That's all right.
What time is it where you are in the UK?
It is currently 4 minutes past 8, so I'm 4 minutes late. I do apologise. Thanks for all of you watching. I apologise for my tardiness. I have no excuse. I'm in lockdown, same as everyone else. So.
Well, good evening, and I would love to know. This is like I was just saying on stream. This is my first overseas interview that I've done, so I would love to know what your experience has been like with lockdown.
Just I don't know. It's not been kind of. I've got relatives in Spain where it is like super tight, and it's policed, and by that I mean by the police. And then you've got yeah, and I've got a friend who is Cypriot. His dad's out in Cyprus, and that was like basically if you wanted to go out for something, you could only go out for essential food and drink, medicine, visit a family member, things like that. You have to text the government.
Wow.
And then you wait for a reply. You get a code and a time frame, and your time frame is half an hour, and a code, and you go out, and you're out in that half an hour. And if you get stopped and you haven't got a code, or it's the wrong code, you're like fined on the spot. Yeah.
Well, desperate times, I guess. That is wild. It's only a matter of time before they do something like that in the States, I bet.
Well, but you know, I think I've interviewed quite a few Americans for my podcast, Talking Bollocks,
yeah.
And the usual line is, "Yeah, that shit don't fly here." But I think we're a bit the same over here as well. So basically, what I'm getting around to is saying initially we were allowed out of our houses for an hour a day exercising, which I made sure I did exactly that. And then it's kind of changed to we're allowed out of the house. We're allowed to exercise as much as we like. We're allowed to go out to the park. We're allowed to sunbathe. We're allowed to meet people from another household, but only one, and we must all remain 2 meters apart. So
wow, okay.
But still no long distance journeys. Still no visiting family. I mean, my mother is 84. You know, a few hundred miles north of me, you know, I'm here in London, so there's basically no way I'm going to visit her, you know, at all.
Yeah.
Anytime soon, which is a shame. I mean, if I did visit her, it might speed up my inheritance, but you know.
Well, what's keeping you busy during quarantine? I know that you mentioned that you have a podcast, which I'm so excited to speak with you about, and I can't wait to listen to it because I'm a big metal fan, so I'm very, very excited about this. But in your quarantine, have you been watching or reading or listening to anything that's been keeping you busy?
Do you know what? No. Um, well, yeah, well, I don't, well, apart from the new Acid Rain album, The Age of Entitlement, no. I've found it really hard. I think I've got through 2 movies so far.
Wow.
I'm finding it really hard to focus. Well, I'll tell you a true story. The true story is, and I go off on tangents, so good luck with me, okay? Just be strict. Um, I sat down to do this with a t-shirt, wearing a Descendants vest, and I thought, it's not quite right, and yeah, and people don't want to see my white pale skin, so I fucked off. I changed into an AC/DC shirt, but it doesn't say AC/DC. It's the AC/DC logo, and it says ADHD because I have ADHD.
I need that.
Yeah, and I have ADHD, and so I like to kind of represent and get it out there that adults can have ADHD.
Oh yeah.
And then finally, the businessman, the singer in the band goes, no, there's only one shirt you can wear really, and that's got to be the one that you've just released. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we got loads of these guys. Doesn't it look really cool? You can have one too.
It is a really cool shirt. I love it, and it totally goes with the theme of the last album. But I want that ADHD shirt because I also have it, and that's hilarious.
Hey, fellow ADHD. I'm sure we'd both already guessed. Yeah. Oh, by the way,
in the chat mentioned that you've also been doing TikToks.
I have. Yes, thank you very much for that. I know who that was.
That's so great.
Yeah, but I just I've been doing a ton of TikToks. Basically, I post one a day.
That's awesome. What is your take on TikTok? Because I haven't downloaded it yet because I know I already have so many apps that are distracting to me and that I would spend all day, every day on it if I had it. So I watch the compilations. It's so interesting how it works and how people go viral on it. What's your take on
it? My take on it is it's Chinese. Stay away.
The CEO of Reddit was like, don't download this. It's basically spyware.
It's I love it. I've got to be honest, but I don't. What I use it for is to scroll through, find stuff that I want to do, make it. I post it up. I have to post it on TikTok because that's how you get to download it to your phone.
Yeah.
But what I'm interested in is the downloaded video on my phone that I can use on my social media. So on my Talking Bollocks Twitter, I tweet out a video every day. On my personal Instagram, I do a video every day. On my personal Facebook, I do a video every day. So I've managed to do one pretty much. I think that I've missed maybe 2 days since the start of lockdown. And for a real treat, today's is naked. Save for a little cushion. Don't worry, it's not that bad. It's child friendly. No, God, that's the wrong phrase.
Well, that's enough to keep you busy. I mean, having time to sit down and watch movies and listen to music is one thing, but if you're maintaining a full social media account and doing a podcast, that you're very clearly staying busy. So good on you.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, I admin, I think in total about 9 accounts across all various bits and pieces I do, because I'm a stand-up comic. I did stand-up comedy for 25 years. I still do stand-up. In the same way that I'm still in a band, as in I'm not doing any of it because we're in lockdown.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I've just got all sorts of that stuff. And funnily enough, that's probably what informs my view of social media, and hence the song New Age Narcissist, and the title of the album.
Yes.
So yeah, that's it kind of, when you're online that much, it can get on your nerves. Luckily for me, I get to write a song about it.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that. And with that, that's a great segue into talking about the album. So thank you for that.
Cool.
I saw in an interview.
Can I just say, sorry, I would just like to say to Jimmy Sprinkles, nice one, man. Keep going. Keep going. Keep driving or getting those planes or whatever it is you're doing, and just keep grinding. Keep grinding. Got to respect the grind.
Jimmy Sprinkles is my boy. He's been tuning in for each one of these interviews. So thank you. Shout out to Jimmy. Feel free to call out any of these comments. It's one of my favorite things about social media is you get to interact with people. That's, I guess, the lighter side of it. But I saw in an interview that you did about the age of entitlement, someone sort of incorrectly assumed that that was aimed at a younger generation, and you were very quick to say, well, actually, like, it's pretty much everybody. It's the world that we're living in right now. Can you speak on that?
I think the point I'm making is that the album's called The Age of Entitlement, not The Age of People Who Are Entitled. And hilariously, a couple of millennial forums took it upon themselves to decide that it was all about them, yep. Which I found incredibly entitled, funny
and ironic.
Yeah, exactly. But the whole point is, I mean, you know, our demographic, and I'm sure it won't be borne out by the audience, because Real Rapper X has never heard of us before, and if he has heard of an Acid Reign, it's the New York hip hop band. But anyway, we are. Sorry, I've completely lost my train of thought.
It's all right. We've all got quarantine brain.
Yeah, I completely went off on a tangent on there, and yeah, God knows where I was going.
Well, I love the album, and I also love, just a couple weeks ago, you guys released a quarantine-style music video for the cover that you made of folk musician Suzanne Vega's Blood Makes Noise song, which I love. And I would love to know how that idea came about, why you guys decided to do a music video for that particular song. What was it like getting Suzanne on board for that? Talk about that.
Well, if I tell you the whole story, it takes about 15 minutes. So let's like chop it right down.
All right.
One night, I smoked a spliff. I was chilling out, and I was poring over my CDs, and I saw my Suzanne Vega CDs, and I thought, wow, they predate me being like signed to a record label or anything. It was the last job I had before I signed with the band originally, and I bought those CDs with my staff discount and all that, and I just thought, wow, I should take these and listen to these in the car on tomorrow's journey. The following day, I had like a 5-6 hour round trip gig to get a comedy gig. So I played them, and while I was playing 99.9 Degrees Fahrenheit, I was playing Blood Makes Noise, and I was just driving along, and it's like, blood, da, da, blood make, da, da, da. And I just thought, I wonder if, I wonder if there's something in that. So when that happens, there's only one person to call, and that is Serious Roger, otherwise known as Paul Chanter. And for those of you who are fans of metal versions of pop songs, go to the YouTube channel Serious Roger, and you will hear pretty much every single, basically every single pop song that you've ever heard that is half decent being covered and done well. So I rang him and I said, Paul, I'm going to send you this, let me know what you think. So I didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks. Driving to a gig, rings me up, checked the email, checked it, pulled in at the service station, played it straight along. Straight away I was just blown away. So drove off, and in the last chorus where I hit yeah, it's a ringing in my ear. I did that exact yeah for the first time on about the 5th listen, driving my car down the motorway, just going, yeah, and he's like, yeah, this is going to work. So we did it. I pinged it to Suzanne Vega's management, to her Facebook page, didn't hear anything. 2 weeks later, get a little message from Suzanne saying, I love it. It's great. Can you get this to my people? Give me a personal email address. She was like, oh, it's great, marvelous. Then later on, Cambridge recording the album, Pete had the brilliant idea of getting her on the song. So I asked her, and she said fine. She recorded it in her phone, sent it over, and then we released it as a single. And there is a different video for Blood Makes Noise. Oh. So the official, if you like, Acid Reign Blood Makes Noise video, which is very good, I might add, is on our YouTube account, which is Acid Rain TV. So if you go to Acid Rain TV, you can see it there. The original, and it was released as a single, as a separate single, and it was also released as video. Now, basically, fast forward to lockdown, saw an Isolation video by Sepultura of the song Isolation, thought that they all look quite depressed, and don't worry, they know because I've told them all. And when I was watching it, I just thought, if we did something like that, it would be absolutely hilarious. Oh, hang on. I think I've just had an idea. So then it was just like saying to the guys, why don't we all just record ourselves doing really stupid shit? And, just make sure you've got the song playing, mime along, let's put it all together. Paul developed the narrative because three of us had sent in footage of us asleep. So if he was asleep as well, it tied it into us living in a house. And all from that, I told Suzanne Vega that we wanted to do something to cheer people up, told her the concept and said, if you want to do it, that'd be great. But if you don't want to do, if you don't, I'll give you final cut, basically. If you see the final video and you just think, no, that's absolutely fine. And she was like, yeah, no problem.
Great.
And that's it. And now she's in the cupboard on the video.
That's so, and it's a great video. And to your point, it is so lighthearted and fun. We all could use a laugh right now, especially. And it's very clear you mentioned that you are also a comic. And so I know that in the past, you guys have kept this really lighthearted vibe to the band, which is kind of a departure with Age of Entitlement. I know that you mentioned that this one has a little bit more of a serious vibe. Speaking to the video, I have a couple more questions about that before we really get into the album. That's not a house that you guys all live in together, right?
That's right. That is actually, funnily enough, somebody from your side of the pond very kindly commented on the Facebook page and said, actually, I think you'll find. No, he just says undisclosed location ? I think you'll find that is, and he named the hotel.
Oh my gosh!
So,
people have access to the internet.
Well, I don't know if the hotel know actually. Well, I've just really I'm going to go back to that post, find the hotel, and ping them a link and say we've made you famous. Hope you don't mind. That's
so funny. Well, I hope you know that you really sold it, because I was like, do they really all live together? I want to see that reality show.
Yeah, do you know what though? The only reason you think that is because we're Brits. Yeah, all those crazy Brits, they all live in a house, don't they? Oh, of course they do.
Well, I also wanted to know, I do a lot of work with comic books and pop culture, and I'm a big fan of all of those things. And there are several Easter eggs in that music video. There's a lot of Marvel, Star Wars, Doctor Who. Who's the nerd there? Who's the biggest nerd of the band?
Well, Pete has got the Star Wars bed covers, but he's also got the Star Wars tattoos that you don't get a chance to see.
Yeah.
Paul is the Jaws fan, and ultimately he put the whole thing together. I mean, all of the work that the rest of us did, you can see, other than the clips that he didn't use. But basically, that's all Paul's work. He edited it, he put it together, and he developed the narrative as well. So he deserves all the praise in the world for that, because it is superb. But still, you can't do it without everybody. Everybody just entered into the spirit of it, and that's the great thing. It's like, it's no good me having that idea and everyone goes, oh, fuck off, I can't be bothered. So everyone's like, yeah, great, let's get stuck in. So and the thing is as well, it was fun for us to do. I mean, I'm pretty sure we look like we're having fun, and that's because we are.
Yeah.
I'm just constantly trying to think up stupid stuff to do, like leap around in my front room in a Mandalorian mask. I mean, or Boba Fett for the old school.
Yes. And you ended the video with a really positive, I'm going to say very wholesome message that I really appreciated. But I was also a little surprised, coming from a classic thrash metal band. You don't always expect that level of sincerity from people. Do you think that people were surprised by that, or do you feel like you keep that pretty constant?
I think a lot of people, the only reactions I've seen to it have been positive. So there you go. I mean, and let's face it, we're talking the internet here. Yeah. So The weird thing is we get a strangely small amount of hate. We get a it's very rare that we have to even moderate any of our social media, and banning people is like, well, maybe one or two a year at that.
Yeah,
But
that does
again, I
surprise
think,
me. In metalheads can tend to be pretty cruel, but also you guys have been around for like you guys are OGs, and so I'm sure you've earned the right to not have crappy people talking in your fandom.
yeah. I mean, look, I'm not sure. I think I slipped a few in earlier, and I was okay, and you didn't say anything. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, basically, we don't fuck about. Right? Yeah. If you're a dick, we'll find out pretty early on, and you're gone. But you know what? We invariably we won't have to, because everybody else will pile on. Everything, everything polices itself, and so we purely just stand back and watch people interact together and stuff like that. And that's my favorite. That's my favorite thing about social media is when stuff goes when discussions start having in the comments, because in our comments it's discussions and friendships and someone going, I was at that gig. Oh, I was that gig. Where are you? Oh yeah, do you and it's just, I love all that, and it's a really positive aspect of social media. And I think we can get wrapped up in slagging it off. Says the man whose album sleeve is that. Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. I know. But yeah, I mean, our social media is really positive, and we try and keep it positive, but also we have a very defined tone of voice, which is if people are being dicks, or then we'll call them on it. And ultimately, it's us, and we're responsible with it, and we don't always, believe it or not, post about acid rain. We'll post breaking news up there, or anything, just to basically keep the conversation going, keep people engaged, and we've got a fair few fans of who are on the page who are just fans of thrash metal. They're not particularly Acid Rain fans, but they come to hang out because it's a nice place to hang out. So
yes.
Everyone's welcome.
Yes, and by the way, that cover that you showed, the fabulous Mark Wilkinson designed that, right? Of Iron Maiden and Judas Priest fame.
Absolutely,
an amazing cover, and you're absolutely spot on. That guy on the cover is totally somebody who'd be writing mean YouTube comments.
yeah, absolutely. Well, he's that one's called. He's called Ego the Clown.
Ego
and yeah, and in case there's a question coming, which is he going to become some sort of mascot on other album sleeves? No.
You're not trying to do an Eddie thing.
No, definitely not. But I'm Fish is my hero. Marillion were the first band I saw live. I wrote all of Acid Rain's albums back in these days. Sat at a desk in front of a massive Marillion poster of artwork that was Mark Wilkinson's. So for him, all these years later, to be doing the artwork for our album, for me, was just massive. Suzanne Vega, who I own, I've been a fan of hers for, since at least when I was 16. Again, getting her on the album, absolutely massive. Both of those huge things for me personally. So yeah, really, really pleased.
Well, you guys are absolute legends, so I am not surprised. I want to go back to something that you mentioned a little bit before, and that is obviously you're so passionate about comedy. You do stand-up. And also, this album is sort of different in that way, in that it's less jokey. There's less jokes in it, and you even mentioned in an interview that you kind of were unfairly labeled as a band as being like a joke band. Can you speak on that and why you decided to change the tone for this last album?
Well, it's I don't know about change the tone. Sorry, I'm just trying to just moving around. Oh, that's not good. There we go. I don't know so much about change the tone, because when you talk about Obnoxious, what you're talking about is an album that is got subjects like censorship. It's got subjects like nuclear testing, child suicide by way of parental neglect, mental illness, borderline psychological issues. You've got you know,
Heavy stuff.
and a song about a horror film.
Yeah.
So, so the thing is, on that album, the very last sort of 2 minutes is a, you know, speeded up Mickey Mouse, and the sort of last 2 minutes is sort of playing funk, which was a very of the 90s. And what you find over the years is that, you know, a pink cover, and that genuinely looks like you're drinking moonshine.
Yeah. I think this is a moonshine jar, actually. So you're
absolutely. So yeah, it's with this album. So sorry. So with it, so you know, we learned, or I've learned over the years, that a little bit of comedy goes a very long way when it's in music. So I just kind of felt that it's not really. It's. I don't want to come back, and I've been doing stand up for 25 years. Yeah, I want to play some fucking thrash metal.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going out and doing joke songs and, you know, tish. You know, comedy there, music there, that's fine. Never the twain shall meet.
So it's important for you as an artist to keep them separated and sort of compartmentalized?
Well, yes, and that's kind of through experience, which is that, you know, music doesn't wash with comedy. You know, it doesn't. Yeah. It's. If anything, it has held the band back. Now, the thing is, I have heard people say, "Oh, I've heard H talk about this, and yeah, he's quite bitter about it." I'm not bitter in the least. I wouldn't change our legacy or anything that's happened. I'm not bitter. I'm better. I'm better, thanks. Yeah, I'm better, thanks. Better than clowning around now. I'm a much better vocalist, as can be evidenced on the new album. I'm a much better songwriter. I'm playing in a much better band, and that is with all due respect to every single previous Acid Reign member. But this is just, you know, this is next level stuff, and you know, every single one of the guys is absolutely fucking awesome. And, you know, poured their heart and soul into this. It's not, you know, it's not the H show. It's not H and the Rainettes as everyone was always worried about it being called when we originally announced the comeback. But these guys, I mean, the weird thing is, right, that these guys who are in Acid Reign now, right, try this exercise. Well, they, as of May, have all been in Acid Reign longer than any other members of Acid Reign apart from me.
Wow, yeah, that's a good point.
Because we were, you know, it was 87 to 91, 4 years. Well, we came out in 2015 and it's 2020, so I'm no mathematician, but so yeah, it might be a new lineup, but these guys have, you know, these guys are more Acid Reign than Acid Reign.
That is so interesting, and I think that you know, with any reboot of a band, of course fans are going to be concerned about where the direction is going to go, but you guys have stayed true to your sound. You're still such a fun listen, and I would love to know, you have been playing music for a long time, and I would love to know what you have learned from your previous years in Acid Reign, and also what does that mug say?
Sorry, I was totally distracting you. I'm just representing I'm representing my soccer club.
Yes.
Yes, it's a Leeds United marching on together. I do apologise. That completely sideswiped you there. What were you saying? What was your question?
Gosh, my ADD is kicking in.
That's all right, don't worry.
I would just love to know more about what the process of rebooting a band is like, and finding the difference between growing as a musician and still being true to your sound, because you have, like you were saying, you've learned so much in your years, and you've sort of constantly been improving on yourself, improving on your own skills, and establishing a clear direction of where you want to be going. So what is that like?
Do you know what? It's funny, because until you've kind of asked that question, which is a good question, and I don't think I've been asked it before. If I have, it's not worded that way. Because I haven't really thought about the bad old days of announcing the lineup for quite some time. And it was a lesson in what can I say? In not giving up. Really, it's just again the grind. You know, we tried to reform, it didn't work. I was in touch with Paul because Paul was going to be part of the reformation when Kev wasn't around, and and the minute I decided to do right, okay, I'm going to do the band anyway. Are you up for it, Paul? Yeah, I know Mac will be up for it, and you know Mac was, but and you know he was always going to be, you know, it was going to be two original members, great, and then he dipped out, and you know, and then it was by this time it was Paul, Mark, and me, and it was Paul was like fucking hell, now it's just you, it's going to be H and the Raynettes, you know, and Mark, and you know, we jammed together a few times, me, Mark, and Paul. We had a summit in a fish and chip restaurant in Knaresborough in North Yorkshire. We were staying at my mum's, and we all had fish chips, mushy peas, and spam fritter for anybody who's interested. And Gravely's in Knaresborough. If you're ever there, do it. And
writing that down.
Yeah, you won't regret it, but you will be able to feel your arteries hardening as you eat it.
I love it.
But and we had a summit conversation at the table there, and I think that was when Mac was still there. Mac wasn't able to get to rehearsals, and Paul was like, ring him, so he rang him, and there was that, you know, that was the closest of any lineup actually being together, was having Mac on the phone and me, Mark, and Paul on the other end. And I remember like Paul saying to me, look, you know, when do you think we're actually going to be able to like do something, you know, get out there, or you know, play songs, whatever. And I said, well, it's just about finding the right people. Mm-hmm. It's just about finding the right people, because first job was try and find a drummer, and that happened fairly quickly. I mean, you know, everybody, there was no auditions, everybody was recommended. I spoke to people or had people recommended, and it came together. But it was, you know, a cousin of mine was going to be had one of the guitar spots nailed down. It was going to be his, and then circumstances meant that he wasn't able to do it. So you know, there was so many ups and so many downs, but the one thing was that I've done a fair bit of sales and marketing in my time, which comes in massively useful in the band. And I remember walking along the street. I was in central London, heading back home, and I just suddenly thought, yeah, we're not reforming. It's a reboot. That's it. That's what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and straight away, as soon as we came out, the log line of our, you know, of Acid Reign coming back in 2015 was, this is not a reformation, it's a reboot. We tried to reform, it didn't work out. So if you want to hear these songs again, it's this lineup or nothing.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you can like that statement, you can dislike that statement, but you can't knock it. It's just truth. You know, I always say you can't beat honesty. You can't knock honesty. And ultimately, people either get on board or they don't. So we waited. We had Plan of the Damned already recorded. We were waiting for the tidal wave of shit that comes with any announcement on social media. And we knew it. And then we'd be able to drop the new song and go, ha, got you, motherfuckers. This lineup rules. And so we're there on the day of announcement. Click, boom, it's out there. We sit and wait for the torrent of abuse. Nothing, not one single negative comment.
I think the fans are just happy to hear more music, and it's true, that is such a lesson in perseverance. You know, something that I really love about metal as a big genre is I love how many subgenres there are. I love how it's constantly evolving. I love how certain genres are borrowing from others, but thrash metal is a constant. Oh no, you went away. There you are.
Yeah, I said, don't worry, I am here. Me fell over.
Yeah, thrash metal is a constant, and I'm wondering if you have an opinion on that. Why is thrash metal still just as big as it was in the 80s and 90s today? And that is, it's still something that has such a dedicated fan base.
Easy question to ask. Easy question to answer. So thank you. The answer to that question is that most thrash fans have a lot of disposable income because they're between the ages of 35 and 50.
For real?
Yeah, for real. I mean, there's you go. I went to the Bay Area Strikes Back, Death Angel, Testament, and Exodus. Right? I did not see a massive youth at that show.
That's so
I
surprising to me.
really didn't. No, I thrash metal is you know without doubt. I'm not saying there are not young kids into thrash. Okay, but our experience, certainly of a band of our vintage, is that our demographic, which we know because all the stats and data that we have tells us that our demographic is from 35 to 48.
Wow,
Um,
that's very interesting.
uh, but having said that, we are an old band, we're a legacy band, so that's purely our experience. And I know there is a lot of young people into thrash. There's a lot of young thrash bands around. But um, what you have to remember is this really, really healthy genre is speaking, yeah? Well, it was in the fucking ICU for a long time.
Yeah, that's
Right?
true.
In the 90s, yeah? Even Creator dabbled with industrial, yeah? Renewal, that album, everyone remember that one? Yeah? Exactly. So and people say, oh, Thrush never died. Well, it went into a fucking coma then.
Very well said.
Because there's a few bands, and I have personal knowledge of a particular Testament album that was actually recorded under a different band name and wanted to be released under a different band name, but the
Really?
label would. Yeah, exactly.
Is
The
that
label wouldn't let
classified
me.
information?
That is classified information because it comes from someone I know too well. I can't do that. So, but I off air, no problem. I'll tell you. Um, so yeah, the only way that we're going to keep thrash moving and keep it as it is, which is healthy, is if we innovate. Now, totally up for people slagging off Acid Rain. Your album's not innovating. Okay, here's what it is. It's an old school album, but with a new school twist, right? That's what we said before it came out, and that seems to have, gone down as yet pretty much spot on. Okay, unlike Megadeth, who say our next album is going to be the heaviest, best thing we've ever done, and is usually shit. But
Shots fired.
yeah, no. Do you know what? Not shots fired. Not shots fired. Right? Imagine Dave is driving down the freeway doing about 60 miles an hour. Yeah, and a fly hits his windscreen. That fly was me. Yeah, that's it's not shots fired. Yeah, but it's the new school twist. What we wanted to do was give people the feeling, that lovely, warm, fuzzy feeling of God. This almost feels like I've heard it before. There's a feel to it, a familiar feel to it, which is hard to achieve when you've been away for 29 years.
Yeah.
But what we also wanted to do as well is we wanted to give them a nice, warm hug from the past, but with a nice, big, sloppy, fat, big, wet kiss of modern production, modern values, a modern aesthetic, and just really, really fucking heavy. We wanted to go also with the production. We didn't want to go for a laptop metal standard thrash metal 7 out of 10. Yeah, we wrote 10 songs. There are some are fast, some are slow, some are medium pace. Steady thrash metal album, 7 out of 10. We're choking on that. We're choking on those. Don't bother. Stop making them. Yeah? Either go for 10 out of 10 or fuck off. Yeah?
Yeah.
Try it or fail gloriously and get a 2 out of 10. That's perfectly acceptable. But these 5s and these 6s, and it's just like, we've tried to create an album there where the track listing is important. So you have to listen to it in that order. You don't have to. We're not being prescriptive, and obviously technology can't stop us. But the whole point is we thought about it. And we wanted to take you on a journey. There's different vibes. There's fast songs, there's slow songs, there's long songs, there's short songs, there's angry songs, there's a song about a movie, which is sort of cinematic. We're trying to take you on a journey and whisk you in and out and give you different lyrical themes. And the lyrical themes should match with the music and just put thought into it, And we wanted it, rather than sounding like I said earlier, another thrash album production. Thanks to Jace Lewis, we managed to get something which, we want. what basically said, you know, what we're going for, we said fucking huge.
Yeah.
That's what we're going for.
And I think
Yeah,
you
let's
nailed
go
it.
old school. Oh, thank you. Well, I think Jace nailed it actually, but yes, thank you very much.
Well, a question that I always like to ask our guests is, what are the ideal circumstances for listening to this album? Obviously, we can't listen to them live right now, but do you have sort of an imaginary circumstance that you would love for fans to just either be eating or drinking something, or on their headphones, or on a drive?
Yes, you should either be eating edibles, cookies, smoking weed, smoking a bong, or getting drunk with your friends in a car park, specifically in a car park, 2 meters apart as well. A socially distanced, fucked up trailer party in a car park. I mean, basically, if you're a liker of cannabis, then you know how to enjoy this album.
Very good.
You've already established your favorite way to do it, yeah, and that is in the bath, stoned. I know it is, but.
Well, speaking of socially distanced, you were meant to have a pretty amazing lineup at Bloodstock this year, and it got pushed to next year. They added an extra day, which is amazing. I am wondering if you have an opinion on what the future of festivals is going to be like in a post-COVID world.
Well, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Because for once in my life, I can't just blurt out what I want to say due to the position that we have with being on some festivals next year. Because I don't want there to be a takeaway from this interview of, well, he said it's not going to happen. But as I was talking to my old friend Derek Green from Sepultura the other day, from a podcast I'll have, talking bollocks, if I mentioned it. He was saying he said I don't see us being able to predict any kind of touring normality until the end of 2021. Travel is the big thing, because that's got to open up. Now, for me, from a personal point of view, I think you've either got to have a 0 or very close to infection rate or a vaccine before you put 50,000 people in a field. And that's just common sense.
50,000 I mean, sweaty people who are spitting on each other and sharing cigarettes, by the way.
Yes. Well, I don't know what kind of festival you go to, young lady. But invite me next time. That sounds great. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and again, I mean, I was exchanging pleasantries with somebody on my comedy account, because I do a comedy character, so it's a separate account and everything. And I was talking to somebody, and he was like, "Oh yeah, the gigs by the end of the year, definitely. Yeah, gigs by the end of the year. So September, October, everything will be back to normal." It's like,
oof.
Well, I mean, look, I've been going on about this on social media. I think PMA is great, okay, but you can't PMA your way out of the situation. So rather than having a positive mental attitude, I think pragmatic mental attitude is more important, and it's also going to help you, because if you just keep being positive and you keep being disappointed, eventually you'll crack.
Yeah.
But if you actually just accept the reality of the situation, that people are calling it the new normal for a reason, yeah, as in not just normal on its own. Oh, I wonder what could be new about it. There being no stadium shows, there being no arena shows. I mean, we may struggle to have, theatres of 2,500, 3,000, 4,000. We don't know at this stage. We don't know. And I'm not saying we will, and I'm not saying we won't, but what I am saying is to not be able to comprehend, or to not at least prepare yourself for the what might happen, and just blindly keep saying, "Oh, we've got to be positive. We've got to be positive."
Yeah, that is solid advice, man. And I think I speak for anybody who was watching, who's tuning into Tower Records. All of us are obviously music fans. We are dying to get back to shows, but it'll happen under some circumstances that are hopefully the right ones.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, music. I mean, look, everything of mine has gone away. Our tour cancelled. Well, I mean, some events are still up, but They're not going to happen.
Mm.
So tour cancelled. All my stand up cancelled. Two agents who used to book me for stand up both gone bust.
Mm.
Invoices outstanding. I'm never going to see those. I host pub quizzes. They've gone. The pubs have gone. So pretty much a load of stuff that I do is just fucked basically.
I feel that.
Yeah. So for somebody who's self-employed, these are interesting fucking times. But we've all got our crosses to bear. Simple as that. And I mean, anyone who we're all suffering in this. And somebody asked me the other day, what advice would you give somebody? What advice would you give to somebody, bands, or anyone else for lockdown? And I said, well, my advice would be don't give anybody advice.
Oh, that was actually going to be one of my questions. So thank you for answering
Right.
that. Yeah, and you're right, because
Okay.
everybody's just figuring it out as they go.
Just get
Nobody's
through it. There's
qualified,
no
really.
fucking manual. And just because it worked for me, why the hell would I encourage you to do it?
Yeah.
It's insane. All these absolute personality vacuums going, oh, if you don't come out of lockdown without a new language or a personality change or a talent, then you've wasted it. It's like, if you can come out of lockdown without
Alive?
being a drug addict, without being obese, without being mentally scarred, without being an alcoholic, then you have won lockdown, my friend. You win. You're still alive.
Thank you for saying that as a personal reminder, because, oh man, the pressure to be productive right now is pretty crazy. But that said, you have stayed very productive. You're still doing your podcast, and I would love to hear more about that. And we haven't gotten a chance much. We don't have a ton of time left, but I really want to hear about your life as a comedian, because it's very clear, even just speaking to you, you're a very funny person, and it's the job. I think heavy metalheads always have, unless you're like really into black metal, people generally have a pretty good sense of humor about themselves. And I would love to know, first of all, what the difference is between when you're up on stage doing stand-up, you're alone ostensibly, and it must be so different from playing with a band. Do you have a preference? Can you talk about the difference?
Okay. This is very, very simple. Okay. And no, I'm just gonna say it. I'm sure you've gathered where I'm going. Okay. Basically, stand up is solo. So basically it's sex on stage, and the band is group sex on stage. So I guess more the merrier, right? The thing is, they are genuinely two different things. And I stumbled upon a way of asking this question the other week, which answering this question, and which is this. Basically, thrash metal is my first love, but I am married to comedy. Aww. And it will always be there. And I've been with comedy for way longer than the band. I mean, the band's been 5 years this time, 4 years last time. That's 9 years. We've been in comedy 25 years. So, comedy is the marriage, but thrash metal, Acid Reign, is the mistress that I just cannot resist, because I met her before I met comedy. We had a passionate relationship, but we fell out, and we've come back together 25 years later. We never stopped thinking about each other, and it was always meant to be. And now, in this beautiful time, we're able to get back together and make sweet music together.
Unfortunately, it's 2020, so you can have a wife and also a girlfriend. People won't judge.
Hey, to be quite honest, I'd be happy with either right now.
Well, tell me about your podcast, because I, in just doing research for this, I saw your Patreon, and I also would love to know, Patreon is such an amazing way to connect with fans right now. If you're a musician or a comedian or a writer, yeah. It's a really needed, necessary thing for staying employed right now. I see a lot of creatives going that direction.
It's my only income. It's my only income.
So tell me about what it's like to manage your Patreon, and give the fans, if they don't know, a little taste of what they can expect from the Patreon and also from your podcast.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, well, basically, the podcast is called Talking Bollocks, and it's me usually up front for 20 minutes, kicking off about the metal stories that have been in the news since the last time I did a podcast. So I'll introduce myself, who I am, and then just go straight into what's been happening in the world of metal, in the last month, and just basically just get into stories, give people a good kicking, usually Kiss, usually over money. And I don't get Kiss. Fucking awful. Inspired a load of great bands. Thank you guys, but seriously, you're done. Fuck off. It's just embarrassing.
Very good.
It looks like the shittest remake of The Crow ever.
Oh my God.
That is basically that's Kiss, basically. Yeah, just like turn it in, guys. Turn it in. But,
they've got enough money.
Yeah, absolutely. But apparently, well, as Gene would tell you, there is no such thing. But yeah, so I'll be rabbiting on about and doing this kind of thing basically, and just spouting off and hopefully making you laugh or whatever. But I'll also make serious points. But you also get everything is unedited. I don't edit interviews at all. So if it's in a dressing room with a band member, then you'll hear people coming in, coming out. We'll have to stop whilst they're asked questions. The idea is, I spent years listening to podcasts before I did one, and I've been doing them 5 years now. And a good podcast should make you feel, the interviews at least, when I'm doing the bit at the top, it should feel like I'm speaking to you. And when the interview is happening, it should feel like you're either sat in the corner of the room or you're eavesdropping on a conversation that's happening just out of sight. Or you should get that feeling that. And the thing is, keeping them unedited sometimes does make people feel like almost like they shouldn't be listening. Do you know what I mean? So they're hearing what's going on. They're hearing what's going on in the dressing room. It's like, yeah, they were just asking, who wanted vegetarian pizza. That's all, But it's, if you're not used to being around that, then it's interesting. So. And it's long form jibber jabber interviews. I mean, I interviewed Jimmy DeGrasso a couple of weeks ago, and we chatted for about an hour and 10 minutes, and we didn't get onto music until about 45 minutes in. Because the idea is that, look, if you want to hear what's your favorite album, what's the favorite song you've played on, who's been the best, if you want to hear all that, then there's tons of places you can hear it.
Yeah.
All I want to do is have a conversation. Hopefully, get a little bit further under the skin. I've got an advantage because I'm a performer, so it's peer to peer. So people tend to be a little bit more relaxed. Sometimes say things that they wouldn't normally say, and that's great. But if you create the right environment, then they give up the goods. So I've had quite a few stories on Blabbermouth where people have given me exclusives, and I didn't even know. And I've just posted the podcast out, and then all of a sudden it's on Blabbermouth. I'm like, oh right, okay, that must have been a big deal.
Yeah.
So it's great. And Patreon basically means if you're a patron, you spend $5 a month and you get endless content that's not available anywhere else. So I do Talking Bollocks, which is the thrash metal podcast. I do Movie Bollocks, which is me talking to musicians, anybody about movies. So the first guest, I've only just recently started this, but the first guest was BAFTA award-winning editor of Peaky Blinders, and I've got two Pauls on it. Paul, who plays in Acid Rain, and Paul Waller from the band Ohms and the Different Times podcast as well. And he's on there talking about movies. I get Jimmy DeGrasso's coming on to talk about movies. And if you're a patron, you also get Radio Bollocks. That's right, Radio Bollocks, Movie Bollocks, Talking Bollocks. I've got 3 bollocks. Ha ha ha. But Radio Bollocks is a kind of like a radio show that I do, playing you all sorts of different music. But I'm going to start changing it up and doing different stuff. But the main thing about Patreon is you get the podcast early, but you also, if you subscribe, you get to, I will tell you who I'm going to be interviewing, give you a deadline, and you get to post your questions.
Wow, that's a great idea.
When I've done the interview, I then go, right, it's now fan questions, and you get your very own extra podcast where you get to hear your very own question answered. And, people have asked questions of everybody from Max Cavaliera to Scott Ian because they pay $5 a month. And also, you get a shit ton of Acid Rain behind the scenes stuff as well. So, So yeah, I mean, it's great fun to do. I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm always harvesting, content from wherever I can.
And that's a hell of a
Um,
deal for $5.
well, I'd like to say so. Thank you very much. I'd like to
I
think
have
so.
to
So yeah.
say, I used to do heavy metal news for a website called Metal Sucks, and there was a moment where
I
the
know that.
only, yeah,
Chuck and Godless.
yes, yeah. There's a lot of takes on that particular outlet. I used to do a video news show for them, and there was a moment where every week the only news would ever be about the band Ghost, because they always had so much drama happening. Papa Mira just fired a member. Some lawsuit is going on, and so I feel for you trudging through and finding metal news every week, because
I
sometimes
know.
there's not a lot of it.
No, but stuff like that is music to my ears because it means I just get to rip into Ghost, which is not a band. And the fact that anyone calls it Ghost, absolutely, it's like what the fuck are you doing? Why would you call that? Why would you use the brand name of Ghost when it's one man's? I don't get it. I don't.
And you said many times over that he is the band. That is so funny.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, like I say, advertised like The Exorcist sounds like Scooby Doo. Just fucking bollocks.
That is amazing. I mean, I like a little Scooby Doo. I've seen them once in concert. They were very fun. I mean, it's always the most drama. I always get such a kick out of it. That is so funny to me. Well, I have one more question for you, and we're almost out of time. And also, we didn't even get to talk really about the reissues. Can you speak to that real quick? Because I think I remember reading this is the first time in America they're going to be available. Is that true?
So, Moshkinstein, available on vinyl in a gatefold sleeve, on cyan blue vinyl in a gatefold sleeve, remastered. First time it's ever been available in the USA, remastered. Was available on Combat Records in 1988. Available on vinyl in the North America for the first time ever. It's the Fear remastered gatefold on piss yellow vinyl. And that is piss yellow, as in it's not the Tower Records yellow. It's kind of like it's like a horrible see-through yellow. It is piss yellow.
Amazing.
Yeah. And Obnoxious, which is still obnoxious after all these years, released for the first time in North America. This is, again, a gatefold. It is on what colour vinyl? Oh, well, can you guess? It's on pink vinyl. It's remastered, and they are coming out. Also, there's a 4 CD anthology box set, which is available now. And that is every single Acid Rain song prior to the new album.
Wow.
On 4 discs, and for the first time in the States as well. I mean, that stuff's never been out on CD in the States.
That is so exciting. Do you collect albums? Do you collect records?
I wouldn't call myself a record collector, but obviously I'm always buying shitloads of music.